Hello, mainstreamers and cinephiles and everybody in between. I'm Bryant.
And I'm Caitlyn.
And Operation Silver Screen is a go.
Hello and welcome to Operation Silver Screen. Our show's mission is centralized on Bryant and I catching up and giving a debrief on must-see films that we haven't seen yet. However, we also have an additional tasking that comes with this assignment, which we refer to as our bonus objectives. The goal of this objective is to watch and debrief sequels and remakes and classics of must-see films. Not only will we review these movies, but also analyze it from the perspective of its predecessors. So, Bryant, what did we watch for our bonus objective this time?
This week, wait, Caitlyn?
Yes?
Hold up, Caitlyn?
Yes?
Caitlyn!
Yes. I know where this is going.
Danger zone!
Again.
That's right. That's right, we are back in the danger zone. For us, it was just a couple weeks ago, but for others, it may have been 36 years ago. Today is our bonus objective. We are going to be providing our debrief of Top Gun Maverick and touch on the original again just a little bit, though I recommend going back and, well, not going back, but if you haven't listened to it yet, listen to our Top Gun episode before or after this episode as well. And do note that we are not going to be spoiling the movie at all, so don't worry. You can take a listen to this. So, you know, if this is a movie you actually need to rush out to the theaters and see, we won't be spoiling anything during the first portion of our review and debrief. Top Gun Maverick. It's been 30 years since we've seen Tom Cruise as, at the time, Lieutenant Pete Mitchell. Now he is Captain Pete Mitchell. Maybe asking yourself, well, wait, 30 years have passed. How is he still a captain? Well, if you don't remember, he has a lot of cowboy antics, and he has some different prioritizing when it comes to his career. He tends to put people and the mission in front of his career development. However, he's called again by Iceman to come back to Top Gun to not only teach, but to lead a mission in where 12 Top Gun pilots, the best of the best, are pulled together to see who can possibly succeed at one of the most dangerous missions ever called upon. We talked about this, like I said, we talked about Top Gun before because Caitlyn hadn't seen it, but I has seen it. It's not a franchise unless you count all the games and everything with it. There's no collection of films. This is actually the first film that we're doing that just comes from one other film. This is also the longest movie sequel gap, not just that we've done, but in film history. So from the original to now, 36 years have passed, which is the longest, like from one movie to the next. Of course, you have some movies, like if you look at from when Alien was made all the way to the second Prometheus, but you still have films in between those. Now, like 36 years have passed, and you know what we need? Top Gun sequel, which I kind of like because, man, after doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre and having to watch so many films in that franchise, and we do have Jurassic Park coming up as well, and I still need to watch those films again, which is probably going to be much better than watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a nice little break. Like, I watched Top Gun, we did an episode on it. I didn't have to do any actual preparation, you know, just got to get myself in the mindset to bring myself to the danger zone for this. But with this franchise, I mean, there's really not too much to talk about. I think we both felt like the original movie, it had some goods and it had some bad, but ultimately it just felt short. Like it was an alright, decent, fun movie, right?
I already forget what our rating was on it. I think I have to go back and listen.
but
it was like mid. It was mid-tier film. I think we understood why it was a hyped and a beloved film, but did we necessarily see it that way? No, but that's all right.
Were you excited for this movie after watching Top Gun?
I would say originally no, but I will say after seeing some good reviews and stuff on this, I at least was interested. I was curious because I was surprised to see good reviews. Like, while Top Gun obviously holds up, there are people that love Top Gun. I wasn't sure if a sequel to it was something that people were really going to like. I wasn't sure. So when I saw that people were, you know, excited for this film and leaving this film pretty excited, I did get pretty curious. I won't lie.
I'm saying with you, I really didn't have much of an opinion when it first was announced. I was like, all right, why are we doing, I don't know, it seemed like a possible cash grab for this demographic, especially with all these legacy sequels coming out. That's the one thing we always got to look out for is this just a cash grab? But then I started seeing the positive reviews, and we're doing this a week after it already came out. after it was released. So we know what the box office was. This hit box office records in multiple ways. The biggest one being the biggest Memorial Day opening with $200 million, which I was surprised. And also this has a interesting demographic. Most of the audience was above the age of was around the age of 36, or in the late in the 30s. Most of your demographic falls in mid 20s. That was interesting. When I was hearing all of that and I was hearing good things, I became more interested to watch this movie. And I think, it's because there's things that do work in this franchise and from the original, I think, and that's kind of what I was hoping that this movie would capitalize on.
Yeah, so I heard this is also Tom Cruise's his biggest budgeting or biggest grossing film of his piece that he's done.
Yeah, I'm surprised about that too, because I thought Mission Impossible would have broke 200 million at some point. I don't know if this is, actually the way this is doing right now and all the buzz it's getting, and it's going to probably last till July 4th where it'll pick up some more steam. This is probably going to outdo some of the Mission Impossibles, if not all of them.
Yeah, I say that we're getting to this a little late, partially just because of life and over the holiday. I had some plans, but also I got to see this with my grandmother. So the original Top Gun is one of her favorite films, and her birthday's coming up. So I told her I would take her to go see Maverick for her birthday, and we got to make a day out of it. So that was nice. Yeah. So I was excited for that, just to be able to spend some time with her, have something to bond over. I mean, obviously, I don't like the first one quite as much as she does, but, I was going into this pretty positive.
We should have your grandmother on the show.
Oh, no, we should have done that. No, trying to get her to work this audio equipment, I don't think that's going to work out so well. Maybe not.
What are some things that worked for you that you were hoping to see in the sequel?
All right, so one thing I was looking forward to in this film, though, is the flight sequences. I said that in the original film, but those sequences bored me to tears. So I was hoping that, with updated technology, and not that it wasn't amazing what they were able to accomplish in the original, but with updated technology, I was hoping to be a little bit more excited for that. And another thing that I was looking forward to seeing, once you told me that Val Kilmer was going to be in this sequel, I was excited to see him and see, how they incorporated him and how they incorporate him and his relationship with Maverick. So those were probably the things that I was looking forward to most. And one other thing, which I will have to put a little disclaimer for you guys. We are a biased podcast. We are, and you try to be unbiased, but me and Bryant, we're definitely biased about certain things. And I'll tell you ahead of time that when it comes to our rating for this movie, I have a feeling that Jennifer Connelly is going to bump it a whole plus. That was something that I think Bryant and I were both looking forward to. So I'm just saying that, she's going to bump it up a little bit. We're a biased podcast, and we are both big fans.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's that already gets some positive points. And yeah, man, I love seeing Jennifer Connelly for multiple reasons, and I wish she was in more movies. I really do. She's in some my favorite films out there, from Labyrinth to Requiem for a Dream. Again, different stages of her life, and she's a beautiful woman. And just it's not even aging fine wine. It's just at every point in her life, she just became that age group, the top of the totem of beauty.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
I recently sent you a GIF that I found of her riding one of those mechanical horses you see at the supermarket or at the mall, from a movie. I forget what it's called. It's a John Hughes movie. I think Career Attention or something. It's not really well known. I'm probably still going to go ahead and check it out, because it's an early Jennifer Connelly I haven't seen before of age, other than Labyrinth. Labyrinth, she's a child though. So that's, this is though 21, gorgeous, as always. Where were we?
Yeah,
oh yeah,
I don't know. I got
that was something I was looking for.
Picturing the GIF, and I think I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Yeah. Now, we haven't seen her before. She's new to the franchise. I'll say with this, something that for me the Jets work, and I think the Jets, a lot of people look forward to that. So that was something I was looking for them to even continue to capitalize on. I was interested to see what they'll do with today's technology. Also hearing that this is going to be a lot of practical effects, knowing that Tom Cruise is behind it. I know that a lot of it is going to be practical effects. I know that a lot of it is going to be, he's going to put himself and the people to bring out the best performance and the most realistic performance in this movie. Mav and Iceman, I was interested to see like where their relationship will take them, especially with Val Kilmer. I talked about it during a Top Gun episode. If you don't know, Val Kilmer has throat cancer and he has trouble speaking for long periods of time. And when he does talk, he uses a voice modulator on his throat. Recently watched his documentary Val, which was a very interesting documentary. And he talks a couple times during that point. So I was interested to see like if they were going to be bringing him in, if he was going to get some screen time, if he was going to talk, because we do see in the trailer that he has a funeral. So wasn't sure like, all right, man, are they just going to kill him off because, you know, he has his health issues, they can't film him, that sucks, but I really hope they do something else. Now something I wouldn't say I wasn't looking forward to. I was hoping that they would do better. One, because it has Jennifer Connelly, but two, it was probably the weakest part of the original movie, and that was the love interest. That was not just Kelly McGillis, but just the whole love subplot did not work for me. I know it didn't work for you. I think for a lot of people it fell short. That was something that I was hoping they would improve, or maybe, you know, just kind of put out to the side. But seeing how Jennifer Connelly is back in the role of Penny, which she gets mentioned in the original Top Gun as being her and Maverick kind of having a thing at some point, her being an admiral's daughter. Is there something that you weren't really looking forward to, or you were hoping that they would do better with this sequel?
No, I agree with you there with the love interest. I feel like I was expecting something better. I mean, no fault to Kelly McGillis, but that was definitely a part of the film that I didn't really enjoy. I will say something that I was kind of dreading and I was kind of waiting for as I watched this movie, and we'll kind of get more into that later. I won't spoil Maverick or anything for you guys, but I was wondering if there was going to be another character death. For me, with Goose's death in the original, kind of felt unearned for me, and I talked about that in our review of that episode. So I think a lot of times you almost expect a death to kind of push the plot along. So that was something that I was sure was coming in this sequel, and something that I just was not looking forward to.
I would say, to me, my issue with that death wasn't that it was unearned. It was that it just wasn't used well. Like after that, having that in there, it was just, well, what was really the point? Like, did you just put that in there just to create this minute of tension? Like, really, what does this do for the character, and what does this do for the story? So, I was kind of interested to see what they'll do with that, because and it's been revealed that Miles Teller plays the son of Goose. So we have his son in the film. So of course that's going to have some tension. He's one of the Top Gun pilots that Tom Cruise has to go ahead and teach as well as part of this class. So I was interested to see how that plays out. And I mean, it gives it a chance for them to, you know, further explore the turmoil that Maverick had to go through in the aftermath of Goose's death in the original film. And what did you actually think of this film, Caitlyn?
So starting first with the flight sequences, like I said, I did not like them in the original. I actually really enjoyed them. I thought that they were very action-packed, and the visuals I thought were very nice. And I was surprised when you said that, and looking it up myself, that, you know, green screen wasn't involved. Most of it still was practical effects, because I mean, I don't know if it was just I'm assuming it was just the way that it was filmed, and the equipment that was used. But I thought they looked way more visually interesting than in the first film.
Oh, they definitely did. And man, there was so much put into the jet sequences in here. Of course, the biggest thing is that it was very little green screen was used. I think I could tell the times the green screen were used, but it wasn't during like the jet flights themselves, really. Mm-hmm. Or at least you don't notice it at all.
Gotcha. I think as far as action and story goes, I feel like it was handled so much better than the original. I think part of the problem with the original is that there wasn't real stakes involved. You know, they were fighting for this competition, and then you were kind of aware sometimes that there was an enemy going on, and sometimes it kind of got a little confusing what was going on for me personally. And there just didn't seem to have very many stakes. The stakes were not very high. That is completely not the case with Maverick. There are definitely stakes. There are things that they are fighting for, and it's not just some points and a name on a plaque. So I felt that definitely increased the tension exponentially.
They do not let you forget that the stakes are high. Like we said, they're training actually this time for a real world mission. Of course, a real world mission gets brought up at the end of Top Gun, but here they let you know from the beginning, like, hey, this is the mission we have going on. These are the stakes, and this is your chance of success, which is extremely low. And they also let you know how bad the obstacles are, because they're bad. Like, I don't understand flying and jets, and I don't understand all the technical aspects of it, but they really make you understand like how hard of a feat this would be to actually pull off.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, it just really helps with the tension. I think that there is an engagement that I felt with this film that I did not feel with the original at all.
I think this was what Top Gun was supposed to be, or what some people incorrectly remember it as. Like, this delivers on the fun, action, humor, patriotism, and camaraderie that I feel the original fell short on at multiple times. I both very much enjoyed this film, and I have a lot of respect for this film, and we'll get into it in the details more. The cast in this one is great all around, and I remember more names and faces than I would usually see in a movie like this, and especially with the last Top Gun, because we talked about that. I was like, yeah, I forgot like most of the characters except for Mav and Iceman in the original Top Gun. Here, I don't remember all 12, because not all 12 get their time to shine, but a good amount of them do. At least half of them do, and then there's also some additional side characters, some additional service members in there. The new and the old seem to be giving their best, which is something great to see from a legacy sequel. You don't just want to see the cast that you love be brought back, and then you just have these side characters just doing their own thing, where they kind of, like Dion said, the High School Musical 3, they want to introduce these new characters, but they keep focusing on the old characters. No, there's a good balance here. Probably because the only two characters to return are Mav and Iceman. We already talked about the jet scenes are amazing, and I'm actually going to be seeing this again in IMAX, because this was actually filmed with IMAX cameras, and I found out that there are scenes that are 23% larger in IMAX alone. So I'm going to go out and see that, and that also alone tells you my enjoyment of this film. It's also a heartwarming story. Something I think the whole family can enjoy. I actually saw a whole family show up. They also showed up late. A whole row appeared in front of me and then went behind and just took up the whole thing. So that was nice to see. It's nice to see when you just see I just saw the generations. There was 3 generations in that family going to see this movie. So that was a nice experience for them on a Friday night. Because we talked about it before that Top Gun is one of the few war movies that's actually a good feel war movie. Like, you're not too reminded of the hardships of war. It's in there a little bit, but you're not reminded too badly of it. The horrors of war, as they say. I think this is a exemplary blockbuster and sequel. I'm not saying this is one of the greatest films out there, but looking at a legacy sequel and a blockbuster, this is a great balance. This is kind of how you do it. It builds, it's modest with the fan service, and it honestly, it does more than it probably needed to actually do to bring in the audience and the money.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree. And going into it, I wasn't really sure what Tom Cruise or Iceman's role were going to be in this film, but I think that the way that they integrated in with these new characters was seamless. And you actually do care about a lot of these new characters, and they don't all look like the same white guy with different hats.
Yes. Yeah, there is some diversity. And this kind of, I don't want to get political and bring in the social commentary, but it shows what diversity can do also for your characters.
It's just, definitely.
Yeah, I know you wanted to say something about the cast. We're talking about the cast right now, so I'll let you go ahead and take that first.
Yeah, I don't know. So I didn't see the news that Miles Teller was going to be playing Goose's son. or his call sign is Rooster in the film, which, fun fact, I think they all chose their own call signs from what I was reading.
They did.
Yeah, and so he chose Rooster because it kind of went along with Goose. And it fit perfectly, so good for him. But yeah, I didn't know that's what his call sign was going into the film. I didn't really know that was the character he was playing going into the film. But as soon as it was on, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes complete sense. He looks exactly like him.
Yes, he was a great fit.
It was uncanny. Yeah, I mean, I liked a lot of the characters. I mean, there is one character who I probably like the least, but he did have a redemption moment at the end, and that is Hangman. But I like seeing a girl there. I mean, I think there was 2 girls in the 12, but only one girl really had screen time, but I still like seeing her there. And Bob was a favorite character of mine. I do wish that we had gotten a little bit more for him, but he was fun.
Yeah, to go off the recency, I was surprised what they did with Bob. It seemed at first that he was going to be kind of the one pushed out to the side, like he was going to be the nerd of the group, like he was going to constantly get picked on, he was going to have to prove himself to get accepted. But no, he fits in pretty well, and it reminded me of being in the military as well. You know, like the different kind of groups and personalities that just get brought in on that friendship. Once Monica Barbero's character learns that, hey, that's my partner, she takes him in right away. She's like, yeah, hey, welcome to the team. I look forward to working with you. It was, they give him a little bit of crap, but they're all giving each other crap on this.
Definitely.
Miles Teller was actually great. He was. I was surprised, and he's been kind of low key recently, so I'm looking forward to see what he's going to do from here, especially now he's gotten out of that kind of YA phase. I'm looking forward to what he has to do. Yeah, he was a perfect fit as Goose's son. However, it was him and 2 other actors that went up for the role, and all 3 of them went to Tom Cruise's house for a chemistry test. And again, this is where I have a lot of respect for this film, just how much Tom Cruise really put in the work for it, inviting them over to his house and doing a chemistry test, basically, talking with them, I guess going over some lines, seeing how they really work together. Miles Teller, of course, was picked, but actually Glenn Powell, the one who plays Hangman, was up for the role as well. He did not get the role. He went home. However, he got a call and they requested him to play the role of Hangman. They not only requested him to do the role, Tom Cruise and the producers, but they actually beat the role up for him and gave him more to do because they liked his performance so much. And I think he does a great job. I actually really like Glenn Powell. I'm hoping to see more of him from this doing so well and from him doing so well with this, because I first started watching him with Scream Queens. He was great. He was probably the best part in that show of Scream Queens. And then he's in a nice little rom-com on Netflix called Set It Up, and does some voice work. And he's got another movie about jets coming out this year as well with Jonathan Majors. So I'm definitely interested to see more from this guy, because I find him to be he's funny, he's hilarious, and Everybody Wants Some, which is a movie we'll one day talk about on this podcast as well. A movie I really like. With the cast as well, Monica Barbero, the female pilot in this, who is
Phoenix.
What's that?
Phoenix is her call sign.
Yeah, Phoenix, who is not just a female pilot. She's just a pilot. She is Phoenix. She is a character. And that's something I was actually a little bit worried when I first saw this. I was like, man, I hope this isn't just the inclusion of a female and she's going to have that kind of that stereotypical inclusion of a female character with a bunch of guys. She's going to be real macho, but no, she has her own personality. She has her own balance between masculinity and femininity. And yeah, she stole the screen anytime that she was on. So I'm also looking forward to more from her coming. I know she's already on a TV show. I forget what it is, but I'm interested to see more of her in future movies.
Oh, yeah, and I was expecting them to push her into a romance with Rooster, and so it was nice to kind of see that not happen. They did seem like good friends. I mean, they cared each other in a platonic way, but it was never anything more than that.
Yeah, and I love platonic relationships, and I was so glad to see that. And that's something, me being ex-military veteran, whatever, it's something that, happens in the military a lot. not everybody has these. Not every person of the opposite sex or the sex that you're attracted to, you're going to have a romantic relationship with. You're going to have a platonic relationship with them as well. They're your brothers and sisters in arms. So I was happy to see that. So, of course, the new cast was great. They were not throwaway at all. This was not the High School Musical 3, as the loose cannon would say. And as far as the returning cast, you have Mav and Iceman, you have Val and Tom. Oh, man. I won't say too much about what they did with him until we get into spoilers, but it was good. Like I said, I had some worries what they were going to do, and man, they did it well. So, and Tom Cruise, he still feels that turmoil of Goose's death. Even though he was cleared and it wasn't his fault, he still holds that. And he still holds a little bit of responsibility when it comes to Rooster. And it's very interesting to see how that plays out. It kind of like you're thinking it's a side thing, and it evolves. It naturally evolves into something, and it's quite interesting to see how it all plays out. With the cast as well, I'll say this. I'm not taking up some time talking about the cast, but I was really interested in the cast overall, but also again, this where respect comes in, the training. The cast really did go up into these jets, just like Tom and them did back in Top Gun. They went into these jets, and this actually required more training, more vigorous training for them. That's because they had to go through G-force training, because the jets that they were in were going sometimes up to 8 Gs. Now, in excess of 9 Gs may actually kill you, and that's kind of the point that pilots in the fastest jets, manned jets, go. And to put in perspective, 9 Gs translates to over 2,000 pounds of force being applied to your body. So you can't just get up and hop in there, because if you do, like, the blood is going to stop pumping in your heart. It's going to start, blood is going to start rushing to your feet. You're going to become lightheaded. You're going to pass out, or worse. Because like I said, excess of 9 Gs can be lethal. Now, while they were in the cockpits, of course, they weren't flying the actual jets, though I'll get to about, they actually have a little bit more connection to flying, but they had to film themselves in the cockpit. Like, they had to control the cameras, the lighting, their own makeup. If they didn't have it right when they got back down and showed it to the director, they would send them back up in the cockpit to redo it. So they had to make sure that they were getting it right. Up there under 8 Gs trying to apply makeup and make sure your shots are right. And to get back down and be told, nah, go back up there. Like, God dang it.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane. And I mean, like I said, you don't have actors' talent doing their own makeup and lighting. That's not a thing that happens. So, and especially not under that circumstance. So definitely props to them. And I'd say the only exception to that they weren't flying the planes would be Tom Cruise himself. He had his planes, I think it was F-18? Something like that? No, not
F-18. F-18 is other jets.
Yes, but it was another one with a number and a letter, but I don't remember. But he
has a smaller plane.
Yeah, but he has his pilot license. He knows how to fly. So one of the planes that he actually did fly. So that was pretty interesting. You know, Tom Cruise, he's such a weird guy. But you know, at least he's devoted. You know, I feel like he's a good actor.
He's a good actor. He's devoted. He's a lot, and I feel like he gets a lot of crap because he is a lot, and he's into the Scientology. Everybody knows, but man, he puts a lot into his film and a lot for the cast as well, looking after them. I mean, still one of the craziest facts I learned about him is that I don't know if he can still do it, but he was able to hold his breath for 5 minutes because he was preparing for a stunt in Mission Impossible. Yeah. Geez, just stare at the clock for 5 minutes breathing. Oh, and that is a long time. Yeah, so he has his own pilot license, but it wasn't just him that has his own pilot license now. Actually, a couple of them got the pilot bug, as you may call it, in this film. So Glenn Powell actually, during the filming of this, went out and got his pilot license. Tom Cruise helped him out every step on the way. When Glenn Powell got back to his place, once he got his pilot license, he found a note from Tom Cruise that said, "Welcome to the skies." So again, this man really, really cares for his team. Monica Barbero is working on her pilot license. There's actually an interview, and it's kind of funny. She's like, "Glenn Powell beat me to it." So upset. So she's close to getting her. She's about to, I don't know if she has, as of this recording, passed her ground testing. Hopefully she does. Best of luck. If you want to see Tom Cruise fly his plane as well, there's actually a funny video where him and James Corden, he flies James Corden out to his hangar. and brings him out to the jet and is telling him like, yeah, we're going to go out flying. Because there was another interview that they did where Tom Cruise had him go skydive.
Oh,
And
gosh.
James Gordon was like, I'm never doing that again. And then now he's taking him out in the jet. And they actually like, they do circles. Like they do the barrel roll.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
wow.
it's insane. So like they put themselves through a lot and it shows on screen. That's the biggest thing. Is like, man, it sucks sometimes when actors put themselves through a lot and it doesn't show on screen. Another thing that showed on screen, and I wanted your grandmother's opinion on this one, is that, man, so we have that famous volleyball scene in the original Top Gun, and this one we have a football scene. And man, everybody, you listen to the interviews, also there's a bunch of gifs around with like a lot of the actors and actresses flexing and all kind of like trying to out muscle each other. They were hitting that gym day and night. And it was funny because they filmed the football scene because that was the biggest scene. Like they knew that they were all going to be shirtless during that scene. Like that was the time that they had to have their muscles stacked. There was also like some competition between the guys. Glenn Powell talks about it. Like he's like, man, there's a lot of male insecurity there. Everybody was there just day and night. So after the football scene, they went out actually and they celebrated. They got shakes, fries. Man, they just gorged themselves.
Deserved.
Yeah, but a week later, Tom Cruise said, "Hey, I checked out the footage for the football scene. Ain't gonna cut it. We gotta go ahead and refilm it." So everybody was back to the gym. Yeah, they were, and they had to constantly fly because they couldn't take a day off. If they had a day off, they still went to the airport and got flown so they can keep that G-force training shape. And this was a 10-month shoot. And there was a 3-month training program as well that Tom Cruise developed. And again, it shows. Man, those scenes are great. Like I said, for the original Top Gun, I love that like they were looking around in the cockpit and everything. And here I feel like there's even more space in the cockpit and there's even more going on and they're looking around, they're talking to each other and yelling back and forth. It plays out nicely.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I definitely was not bored this time. Also, speaking of the football scene, I was shocked that Tom Cruise himself was shirtless running around. That old man.
Oh, I wasn't surprised at all. Like I said, Mission Impossible is my favorite franchise. It's probably been my favorite franchise for the last decade. So, I mean, you can't help but research the stunts that they do because they're insane. Like hanging on to the side of a plane, holding his breath for 5 minutes.
So he's in good shape.
Well, also, Tom Cruise is known for running. Like, the only reason that man has barely aged is because time can literally not catch up to him.
Well, he's aged because there was like an intro before the film with Tom Cruise, and he looked a lot older than he did in the film. I mean, I'm guessing he dyed his gray for the movie itself, but
no, I noticed that with some interviews recently. I saw like some stills. I was like, oh wait, Tom Cruise looks a little bit older. I was like, he probably slowed down just a little bit, but hey, the dude's 60, and like he's
he's doing good for that age.
Yeah,
doing
and also
extremely well.
I'm just gonna put it out there, maybe a spoiler warning, but he does run in this film. Like when I saw it, I put my finger on my nose. I was like, he's doing the thing. He's just cutting that air, Yeah, man, everybody was doing great, and also Miles Teller, man, he just looked really relaxed in this role. There's a scene where they're playing football, and he just leans back and just lets his shoulders drop, and he just looks like he's having the time of his life. I was like, man, this must have been like, oh man, this is the kind of set that I wish I was a part of somehow. Like, kind of makes you want to be like an actor and like go through this. And it's funny too. One of the actors though actually has a fear of height and flying. They had to sign a waiver.
Oh, no.
He thought that this was all going to be green screen, so he lied. He was like, yeah, no, I don't have a fear of height or flying. And it was I believe it was Fanboy. So he actually gets some screen time too. So he conquered his fear to be a part of this, and I'm pretty sure everybody was helping him along the way.
Yeah.
So I'll say that for the spoilers. So once again, the DoD was involved with this film. The DoD Media Entertainment, like we mentioned, we talked about the complex in our original podcast, talking about how the DoD is actually involved in a lot of films. And of course they still are to this day. And they were known for kind of meddling with the Top Gun screenplay, the original. Excuse me. I'm not sure if you want to talk about that, Caitlyn.
For the original?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so mostly speaking, I mean, first of all, they were funding part of his film and they were giving their resources to this film, but it came with a cost for sure, because they had to submit the screenplay and it had to get approved, and there were some scenes that they changed around to make it seem more favorable towards the military. So that's where that kind of military commercial propaganda, whatever you want to call it, comes in, because there was that military involvement into this film. So what was the involvement in the sequel then?
Barely anything. So Lieutenant Colonel Glenn Roberts, I believe retiree, is the officer in charge of the office currently. And he did an interview and he said that he knows that the story was changed before, back in those days. But he says that my mentality now is to allow the artistic freedom. He's like, what I do is I check to see if there's like inaccuracies in the films, or to tell them like, hey, no, it wouldn't work like that, or hey, this is like the actual representation of it. But other than that, he doesn't tell them what to do with their film. Someone actually questioned him like, oh, you guys got to tell them what they do with their films. And he said, well, yeah, good luck telling Michael Bay, Steven Spielberg, and Christopher Nolan what to do with their films. So he allows them to do what they wanted to do. He just goes ahead and lets them know like, yeah, no, this wouldn't work out like this. You should probably go ahead and change it. But other than that, no, barely anything. And guess what? I gotta say, this movie, I'm not saying it made me want to go out and enlist for the Navy or anything like that. But it's probably a good thing I didn't see this while I was getting out of the Army. I would probably second guess myself like, do I want to stay in? Do I want to become a pilot? Because this movie kind of got my blood pumping. It reminded me of a lot of another movie, kind of like the same tone and a lot of the same feelings I got from a really good feeling movie, which is Creed. Mm-hmm. When I finished Creed made me want to go out and just fight. Like, yep. I was just pumped up. Like I was ready to hop into a ring. This made me want to go out and get a pilot's license.
I completely agree. I mean, I thought the same. I mean, I'm glad to hear you say that they didn't have involvement, because that was something that I kind of was questionable about in the first film, just because, I mean, I have nothing against military films, and if you want to show the military favorably or unfavorably, do what you will. But when they have that level of involvement, I think it kind of takes away from the artistic freedom, like you said. And it's like, is this really a film that you want to make, or is this the film that the military wants you to make? So that's kind of my concern with the first one, when I learned that they were making changes. So hearing that they didn't have a influence on this one story-wise, I am definitely glad to hear that. So one thing I said that I mentioned in the first one was that there wasn't a much focus on the enemy. I mean, when you talked about it, you said, oh, it's obvious who the enemy is. It's obviously the Russians because of this and there, but they didn't actually name them by name. But I think that this film kind of does the same thing. And I feel like it's kind of nice to see a military film, not that just it's feel good, but just a film that doesn't focus on, this is us versus them. This is the other. I mean, it has conflict with another nation and something's going on, but I never felt like it was detracting from being a film mostly just about this crew and the relationships between these characters.
Yes, I'll say with this, a couple things keep it ambiguous. One, like the colors of the uniforms and the jets of the enemy were just literally blacked out. I wasn't too sure who this could be. Now, granted, their terrain of the enemy, there's snow, and there's only so many countries we think of when we think of snow and enemies. Until Greenland starts acting up, we kind of got one in mind, or Serbia, but they got their own stuff going on. And with this, though, another thing with this movie is that it kind of takes place in an alternate future, an alternate timeline, because they introduce a jet a prototype in the beginning of this movie that reaches over Mach 10 speed. Now, Wild Man, Tom Cruise is in the jet. Now, the only manned jet right now, as far as our time, the only record is about 6 Machs. So there's a whole 4 Machs that we still haven't gotten to. While unmanned, I think, is at 8 Machs. I think there is one that actually, I think the 8 Machs are like high up there, but it can only be reached outside of the Earth's atmosphere. So we actually haven't even gotten to even close to that type of technology. So it's like this kind of takes place in, I don't know, it kind of takes place in the future, but not because it's only 30 years since 1986, because that's already been established. So it's kind of like this alternate timeline. Now, granted, that's the only futuristic thing, and maybe like some of the things they use for briefing. But other than that, don't worry. It's not like anybody's has on like smart glasses and they're pulling up hologram desk on the from the ground and showing the position. No jetpacks or anything like that. But yeah, it's that was an interesting choice, and I wonder if they did that to make the enemy more ambiguous.
Yeah, I'll say something. Well, first of all, I didn't realize that about the mocks, so that was interesting to learn. I do think that there was a little bit more focus on like the technical aspects of the plane. Like the first movie was just all about the MiG or whatever it was, and I don't know, it didn't really get too much into the technical aspect, I don't think, since that or besides that. But I feel like there was a little tiny bit more focus, and you got to see a little bit in it, and hear the lingo, and the lingo wasn't too far over your head. You can kind of make some sense of it. So that was nice. You know, it felt accessible. But something I liked about Top Gun, and I liked it about the original too, I think, is that, so it's just some personal background for me. My grandfather was an Army pilot. He flew helicopters. And while he liked the military, I would say he did not like the military as much as he loved flying in general. And that was his way to fly. Flying was his passion. And looking at these characters, I didn't necessarily guess they're military, but I think first and foremost, the focus is just how much they love flying. And they love being in the air, and they like the camaraderie. And so that was nice to see.
Yeah, and coming from the Army, I'll say that's a big thing for a lot of people. It isn't so much that we love the Army, is that we love the people and we love the job. Actually, sometimes it gets frustrating for people, I can especially say for MPs, and where the Army interrupts the job. And actually, that was one of my issues, is that I was really liking the work that I was doing, man, but the Army kept coming in and having me do other things, pulling me away from that, having me shift my focus. So I definitely agree with your grandfather there. Yeah, I think this movie brings it to light. The jet jargon and how they were explaining it, like I was catching it. I wasn't receiving all of it, but it reminded me of watching the hospital shows, or anytime like there's a hospital. When the doctors are talking about, you know, we got to go ahead and transfer the CCs and put in like 20 milligrams of this into that. And yeah, you're like, man, I don't got any of this, but it all sounds really cool. And I heard this word twice, so I know it's important. I'm following along. I got this. You know, you're kind of just like an intern, but you're catching it, and it's fun. And yeah, it definitely is way more than what you had before. So we mentioned her before, but let's talk about our favorite introduction, who gets introduced to a song that is somewhat of a reference, and that's "Let's Dance" by David Bowie. I did not catch that. But I read the trivia on it. Yeah. And you know the connection between Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay.
But I was like, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. You know, without David Bowie sitting there and you know, just hip thrusting himself across the bar, kind of don't put two and two together. But man, I would have loved it. Like Jennifer Connelly was there, and like the voodoo dolls started jumping up and started singing along.
Amazing.
Actually, okay. I want to learn editing so that like there's scenes in the bar where there's just a huge crowd of people. I want to try to find a way to like put one of those voodoos or one of those goblins in the background.
Yeah, that'd be to do for sure.
Yeah.
Like you ever see those tweets like I Photoshop Paddington into movie stills until I forget every day until I forget.
Oh no, I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen it? Oh my gosh, I'll have to send you.
I love
Twitter.
Paddington too.
Yeah,
I love both Paddingtons.
Yeah, I'll have to.
I'm excited for 3. I wonder if that counts as a legacy sequel.
No, maybe it's a franchise, kind of. It's a book franchise.
Yeah, I don't know if like the time though is gonna match. We'll see. We'll do it for Paddington. But yeah, Jennifer Connelly, like we said, we both love her for multiple reasons, both superficial and respect for her talent. What did you think of her? Talented. What did you think of her role in this movie?
You know, I wasn't sure what to think at first because I mean, obviously, I knew Carrie McGillis wasn't coming back because she's not acting anymore. So I was kind of I won't say I put off guard because I think they played it off really well. Just to have a character come in and you have to assume all this history between her and Maverick. There was a history there. They've had a relationship before. It seems like they've had an on and off relationship that have gone kind of sour at the beginning of this film. And so you kind of have to go in making some assumptions about that. But I think that the way they played it off went well. I won't say that this was my favorite love story. I don't think it was necessarily a huge focus of the film. And there's a love story in this film that I think worked better, or could have if they had gone that route. But, I think that it was fine. And I think it gave Maverick a little bit more humanity because, he doesn't really have anything tying himself down, and he's still just being this kind of loose cannon. And obviously things didn't work with Charlie, and they were no longer together, and which, I kind of predicted. But it was definitely I would say at least it's a better story than the original.
And the bar was low, but I agree. It was a better love story than the original. And I think the best thing for it was to humanize Tom Cruise. Mm-hmm. But I don't think she was just a plot device. She had her own things going on as well.
Yeah, I liked her as a character. I think that she's interesting as a character. She has this bar. She just has sort of a swagger with her too. And she definitely had her own motivations and things that she wanted out of a relationship and out of life. And so I think that was good at defining her character. Like I said, it's not my favorite romance, but it was solid.
There were also some impactful moments with her as well. I would save one for the spoiler, but I'll give one now. It's where she's like kind of giving him a hard time this whole time at a bar. It's great because she has the backing of the whole community there. Mm-hmm. Like you can tell like she's very much adored in this town. But Tom Cruise, when he sees Goose for the first time and he's looking at Goose as he's like playing this piano, Rooster. He's got Rooster. Sorry, what did I say?
Goose. Close
Goose.
Enough.
Yeah. Gooster. When he sees Rooster, when he sees Goose's son playing the piano, he has this very sad look in his eyes. And Jennifer Connelly giving him this hard time throughout the night. She sees this and she can tell like the emotion that's going on through him. And I think it's because we know like within this short time, she knows Mav almost better than Mav knows himself. And it kind of like double layers that impact. And it was really nice. And it happens again in the, not so much like that, but there's another impactful moment in the movie as well with their relationship that gives this movie a little bit more heart as well.
Yeah, and I like that we didn't have to start a relationship from scratch with Maverick either. I think it was a very good decision to have a relationship that was kind of already established, their dynamics and how it was going to go to a degree.
Yeah, and they also made it work with it wasn't just fan service. And I'll talk about the fan service a little bit. The fan service isn't here that much. There's a little bit of a cut from the last movie, but again, it's been 36 years. They did this with The Matrix where they cut in previous film. And I gotta say, this is how you do it. The Top Gun Maverick, Matrix, the Wachowskis should have watched this first, which was being made at the same time, probably even done before, and learn from it. Because they have it in here just kind of give you a reminder like, hey, remember this, remember that, and it's quite nice. So it plays like a flashback, even though it's the original film. But Penny, she was kind of just a side joke at first. It was just she was the admiral's daughter that Mav had a fling with, or at least like took her out flying, and it was like this stint that had happened. But she gets brought back, and they do much more with her character. It's like they kind of created her character and then realized that we can tie it to this original one. There were a couple other things in there that were like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I see how that ties to the original. But most of it tied to the original as far as story goes. It wasn't like unnecessary dialogue. It wasn't nobody was saying, hey, man, I got a need. Oh, what do you have a need for? Speed? No, man, I have a need for water. This subverted. Everybody goes, oh, they almost said the thing. No one's saying, you can be my wingman, ride my tail. Nobody's asking for butts. Nothing like that.
I don't know. I kind of missed the butts line. I was expecting that one. I need butts. Give me the butts.
The reviewer I watch on Twitch, they actually made that their stream ping. So anytime their subscriber notification. So anytime somebody subscribes, all you hear is, "I want some bucks."
That's perfect. That's great. Yeah, so for me, the only like real fan servicey thing that I did not like is the music. Because
yeah, they brought the music back, and there was one song I did not like from the original, and it was brought back in this. I was like, yeah, not feeling that.
It's probably the same thing I'm thinking of. We'll talk about that a little later. But even like at the bar, these young kids are going on the jukebox and they're putting on these 80s music, and I'm like, that's not realistic. Can we get something a little bit modern here?
I believe that because they weren't young. They weren't like Gen Z. They were our age. They were.
No, I'm not gonna go put on 80s music.
I would put on some 80s music.
Ooh, not
if
me.
I'm flying jets.
I don't like 80s music.
Oh man, I got my songs.
I don't know. Maybe 70s.
Some Motley
70s
Crue
music. 70s music is good. 80s music takes me back to that car salesman job.
Well, you just don't like 80s music.
Oh gosh, because it's just
music.
Like I said, it's the go-to retail music, and I can't do it. If you worked retail or anything of that sort, you're not going to be a fan of 80s music.
Yeah, these guys decided to serve their country in another way, not retail.
Yeah, I guess that's why. They haven't been. Their soul hasn't been crushed by the 80s music on the same song 20th time that day, over and over again.
Yeah, but towards the, like, once they got that fan service out the way, I did like kind of the orchestra they did of Danger Zone. I mean, I was like, this is a little fan service, but
I did like that one.
it kind of worked a little bit.
Mm-hmm. It did.
It was just quick. Like, I heard it, I was like, all right, maybe a little too much, but I think that's because they were trying to give Kenny Loggins a little bit more appreciation because they did replace him, which was a pretty bold move that they replaced, like, the one who made the movie the song the movie is known for, and they replaced him with Lady Gaga. With the song "Hold My Hand," which is a good song. It's a great song, actually.
I wasn't a big fan of that.
Really?
It was just in the end credits, right? It wasn't anywhere else.
Yeah. I think you can hear a little bit like before the credits start rolling. But it does feel like kind of the promotional song. I think it's like a promotional song. It works.
I think Lady Gaga has a good voice, and maybe I just have to listen to it outside of the end credits. But I wasn't really feeling it in the end credits. But we'll see. But. Yeah, like I just kind of wish there was a little bit more modern music. Not anything too modern where it's like, oh my gosh, this song again. But like I'm not looking for top 40 hits, but just something a little bit other than the same 80 songs that they used in the first one.
I think there was one, but I could also be mixing up movies because I did watch The Fallout the night before watching this. So I may have cross streams. But yeah, there was one with like, it was like The Synths or something. It was like that very, because I mentioned it before, like the Hallmark TV movie kind of music they had in the original. They play it for like a second here. I'm like, why? I even wrote in my notes. Still not feeling it. Wait.
Let me rewind for a second. Why are you saying, oh, these people are like our age, so they might listen to the 80s music? Like we were alive during the 80s, listen to 80s music.
Because we do listen to 80s. I said, I put on 80s music. Like I would put on 80s music.
But it's not like your era. It's not like you're nostalgic for it.
No, but these guys weren't really nostalgic for it.
I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't like Star-Lord. They had a walkie-talkie on them and they were blasting it while they were in the jets.
I got that vibe with the jukebox.
Oh yeah, with the jukebox, but also it's a jukebox. Like, are you really expecting modern songs in the jukebox?
No, but yeah, they have modern jukeboxes.
That wasn't a modern jukebox.
But they have them.
But also, if you look at the demographic of that bar.
Yeah, that's true.
You know that jukebox only had 80s on it.
That's true. But still, I just overall, the music, I wish there was a little bit modern. Like, they could still have a little bit of the 80s music, but I felt like sometimes it felt a little fan servicey. And I will mention, last episode, when we did our Top Gun review, you called him Kelly Loggins. I was listening to the podcast of my mom. Yeah, I was listening to the podcast of my mom, and she was like, did he just say Kelly Loggins?
Because there's a woman named Kelly McGillis in this, and then Kenny.
I know, it's very easy. I was like, oh, I guess he did.
Yeah, I almost just said it now.
I didn't call you out on it. It was all her.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get into the classified portion of our debrief. So if you have not seen the movie, go out and see it. I mean, we haven't given our letter grade yet, but it sounds like both Caitlyn and I would recommend you go out and see this movie. Just as well as all the other people in America right now rushing out to see this movie. I'm not sure how well it's doing in worldwide box office, but yeah, go out, see this movie, come back, listen to the second portion. If you already have seen it, hey, stick around. All right, is everybody gone from the danger zone that shouldn't be here? All right, let it rip. So with the spoilers intact, one of the things I want to talk about first is Val Kilmer. I know somebody that we were both interested to see come back. I was very interested to see how they were going to have him back in the film with all his health issues that are currently going on. And there is a scene we get before his funeral. We also get some texting back and forth between him and Mav. But when we see him, he is actually having, I guess his character is dying from throat cancer. And it's a very emotional scene. He first talks to him just by putting a simple question on the computer, and then he actually talks to Mav. I found out later that it was actually AI dubbed, so that's where we're at with technology right now. They were able to recreate his voice and dub it over him, and they have a very nice scene together. I think it was done very tastefully. As far as like these legacy sequels go and bringing these characters back, this was probably the most tasteful.
Yeah, and I know we didn't really joke. I mean, I think we were genuine with it, that we felt that the first Top Gun really would have been a better movie if it had been a romance between those two, and I felt that even more so. I wasn't joking that
I could have seen it.
Yeah, it's not a joke. It's very genuine, and I feel like for this movie, I felt that even more so. I mean, it was a beautiful story of the relationship between these two characters, and the way it went down, and that scene where they were reunited. It was a very heartwarming scene. And as far as, using the computer as his voice because he was unable to speak, or it pained him to speak, the fact that they did that, I thought was so cool, was so neat. Because, they could have said, we can't do this. Like, you can't be in this film, or found some way to write it out, or just to deal with it. But the fact that they just was like, okay, this is how you can't use your voice, so your character's not going to be able to use his voice, and we're going to provide technology for you to help with this disability. And I think that was really nice to see. I mean, in general, we don't see characters with disabilities using assistive technology or anything like that on screen. I mean, obviously this is just him typing on the computer, but even so, I mean, that is assistive technology. So I thought that was really nice to see, and I think it was beautiful that it was able to capture that and make use of that and show that he is still capable of doing these things even though he does not have his voice. And it was really nice to see that they didn't write it out.
Yeah, because like I said, they could have easily just went with the funeral scene. They could have just killed him off because they didn't want to have to go through what some people would probably consider hoops to bring him on to screen. But that wasn't the case at all. I would say I didn't feel the sexual tension as I did the last one.
No, not sexual, but
I did feel that camaraderie between them and that level of respect. Like, these guys don't see each other often, but when they do, and it's like they pick up from the start.
Yeah, I mean, there was a real love there. I mean, platonic, romantic, whatever you want to call it, but there's definitely a real love between two characters. It was very nice. And like you said, you don't really see men having that kind of relationship, where they're hugging and they're crying, and so it was nice to see. It was a beautiful, touching scene.
I was almost worried about this movie for a second, and that's when Tom Cruise and Miles Teller reunite. When Tom Cruise is about to get shot down by the helicopter, there was some points in this movie where I feel like the tension wasn't totally there. I was like, I know what's going to happen. Like that, what happened with the helicopter when he was about to die, and what happened with the jet later when he was about to die. I saw both actions. However, it still caught the audience off guard. The audience clapped and wooed when Hangman came in and saved the day.
Really?
So, yeah. My audience was very reactive. It was pretty interesting. Nice. I'll get into another point where they were reactive as well. But with that, I was like, oh man, with Tom Cruise's plane getting shot down, and now he's coming back to do the rescue mission. I was like, I feel like they're probably tacking this on. But how that plays out, I think was cool. I think that was really interesting. It was funny. It was intense. It wasn't when they had to infiltrate the base, it's not like they pulled out their pistols and just started taking out men, started coming behind them and breaking necks. No, they were like, let's just play it cool and take this jet and try to fly out of here. Which was, I mean, crazy coincidence, but it still played out great and made for some great scenes, seeing that, you know, the old jet getting chased by these new generations that are very much outclassing them, and seeing how they can maneuver around them. And it was hilarious when Miles Teller came back to save him, and Tom Cruise running again, runs up and just knocks him over. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
he's like, "I just saved your life." He's like, "I saved your life." So yeah, the chemistry they had, that chemistry read, Tom picked it right. Not just because of looks alone, but they had a chemistry that I think involved throughout the film. I don't think it was like I think sometimes we will kind of see it just work in 3 steps, where we'll see, hey, they got their beef, they hit their climax, things switch. No, it's kind of a natural curve that works with their relationship and them opening up to each other and accepting and moving past the past. It was, again, much more than what it needed to be.
Yeah, I think that ending when they're in enemy territory, there was a part I was like, okay, no, it's going a little too far for me. And then it kind of switched, and it did feel natural, and it did feel all right. Like, we progressed, and it felt exciting, and it was all right. So I was glad that they didn't push it too much. Like I said, I was kind of expecting, you know, they go guns blazing and whatever. Like, I almost expected that moment, because that's what you expect from some of the, like I said, mid-budget action films. But I mean, obviously this isn't mid-budget, but, you know, it's kind of a vibe you kind of get. But so I was happy that it didn't go that route. It went all right.
Wait, did you say this wasn't big budget, or it is big budget?
It is big budget.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, what like, can you do this on $5 million?
No. I was saying it's kind of like, you know, something that you would expect, though, from a mid-budget action film. Or even, I guess, even big budget.
Even big budget.
Yeah, even big budget, I guess. It's just kind of stereotypical. No, it's definitely not a small budget. I think the Top Gun was 15 million. This was 150.
I'm not sure about the prices, but that sounds accurate. Though I'll be surprised. Yeah. Well, it was mostly practicals, and I mean, yeah, they weren't doing too much special effects and reusing the same plane. So yeah, I think, yeah, you could do this on 150.
Yeah, I think it was like 100 more than what it was for the first movie. Definitely a big change there. Something else with Rooster's story and Tom Cruise's story, that connection to Goose and the flashback of Goose's death that you mentioned earlier. I'll say that I felt more for Goose's death in this film than I did in the first one, by far.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, they really made it, you know, heartbreaking. You know, you felt for these characters, which like I said, I didn't feel for them much at all. I didn't really feel much of anything in the first movie. I mean, I liked Goose, but it's just the way they played that death just was a little awkward to me. Although I will say I was a little taken aback when they said that Meg Ryan's character had also passed away. I was like, oh, dang. Jeez.
Same, but again, it fit for the story. And actually, I really like that, where he said why he made the choice never to tell him that it was his mother's wish that he pulled the papers. I really like that self-sacrifice there.
Yeah, I really like that. I feel like that could have worked with her living or dead, though. So I feel like that was a little strange to me. But I did like that self-sacrificing kind of point of view.
With Miles Teller's character, Bradshaw, one thing that did kind of fall a little bit short for me is the understanding of his character's personality. He's first introduced kind of like a hotshot, but then you find out that he's by the books. But they don't really show how he's by the books other than him taking it slow. Mm-hmm. Maverick tells him multiple times, like, you're too by the book. You got to stop thinking so much. Don't think. So I feel like it played out well, but I think that the exposition and knowing his character to be like that wasn't so much there.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I definitely feel like he was a person that was, you know, I think he wanted to do what was best by his team versus hangman that leaves you hanging dry. But, you know, I think that the methods in which he did that could have been explored a little bit more.
Granted, I didn't want the cliche of where he's totally by the book and he quotes it, and because you see Mav drop the book in the trash can. I didn't need a scene later with him like taking the book out of the trash can, like, oh, it's all right. It's all right, baby. He didn't mean it.
Yeah.
Or like betraying the team or something.
Yeah. What do you think about John Hamm in this movie?
Oh, he was great. Yeah, he played his role well. He wasn't, man, when you have these like these higher up military dudes, I always think about the worst one, which was in Avatar, where it's like that high and
Oh,
tight.
yeah.
He's all about just killing the Nazis and the communists and moving on with the mission, leaving a path of bodies, just being very over the top and stereotypical. Here he was you can see where his focus was, but he didn't fully go over to that path. Like he wasn't fully committed to just being about the mission. When they mentioned things about bringing everybody back home, and of course, he switched sides later on, saying, "Hey, like this is what we're gonna do for better success." I I liked it a lot, and then I understood when he made other decisions. When he made decisions like, "Hey, we're gonna up it to 4 minutes. We'll try your chances with a dogfight."
Yeah, I mean, I think I liked what he said. It's like, you gotta let them feel like they can at least do it. Like, if you're going to make them feel like it's impossible, they're just going to feel defeated and give up. So I understood kind of where he was coming from in that point of view. Was it the right choice? Maybe not. I don't know. But I did at least understand his point of view from that perspective.
I will say in the military, that's a lot about what like the training is when you do the when you're training for the real life missions. It's about failure. Like, I honestly, I can't even think. Like, sometimes you'll succeed at some, and then others, they're just meant for you to, like, lose half your team until about test day, and you still have to make the right calls, but you still, hypothetically lose people. But the military is heavily about that. One of the biggest training sites, NTC. Fortunately, I never had to go, but I know other people had to go, and it's just, they're like, it's just 3 months of just getting the crap, just wringed out of you, just you failing one mission after the other, trying to do your best. But it's because the real world training is supposed to be harder than the actual mission.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, so if you can at least come close to completing the mission in training, then most likely you'll do the mission for real. But man, that mission, they made that mission look impossible. Like, I understood, dang, this is one thing after the next. Like, they said 2 miracles, and they made me believe, yeah, those are miracles.
I felt like I was gonna black out when they're going up the steep, trying to miss the steep cliff.
Oh yeah, I got also
fanboy blacked out.
I started feeling some tension with some of the characters during training too. Like when Phoenix started having her engine blow out, and then with the one dude who passed out, I was like, what is the plan here?
Yeah, like I said, but they were real stakes in this. It wasn't just about getting enough points to graduate. It wasn't about getting on a plaque. There was real stakes, and I really appreciated wonders of a story.
Anything else you want to say with your opinions before I move on?
Just to talk a little bit more about the romance a little bit more in depth with the spoiler section. I think that, how did you feel about the daughter in this? I know that she played a part in some of it. Just Jennifer Connelly's life outside of Tom Cruise was, we knew a lot about her, or having her just being introduced.
It was interesting again to see how he had a relationship with her as well. Like, they knew each other, not just knew of each other, but like they knew each other. They obviously, like, they connected before. They already have a friendship made. Another crowd reaction was given when he jumped out of the window from Jennifer Connelly, and he stands up and he sees the daughter. Everybody laughed, but it was the quickest laugh to all I've ever heard. Like, some of the laugh like didn't even like kind of like finish. Like, I don't know. We were sitting down and it sounded like somebody stumbled. That's how quick it switched. Just don't hurt her again.
I know. It was like, oh.
That was the other impactful moment I had with her, and I liked her role because she was kind of involved about as much as you would see a daughter of that age, and she wasn't again like too far to one side of, oh, you're just planning to hurt my mom again. I hate you. You'll never be my real dad. That type of thing that we all hate kids seeing kids do. The other crowd reaction that was given. Wait, did I say when Hangman saves the day? That one. You said that one. I saw that one coming. Actually, I kind of feel like that one took a little too long. I was like, "Where is he going? Is he here yet?"
Yeah, I felt that too. I did feel that too.
But I like I like what played out with Jennifer Connelly. Another impactful moment I think they had is when he's leaving out I felt that too. I was like, dang, man. I was like, I'm not sure if he's going to come back. Like, this is a legacy
sure what was
sequel.
going on for a second, because I didn't understand for a minute that he meant that he was going to leave them, like actually fly with them when John Hamm had mentioned it. I didn't realize that at first. So I was like, what is he doing? So like I almost expected him to like propose or like if I get back, will you marry me? Like that was something like that. So I was kind of glad it didn't go that direction. But I do think that Jennifer Connelly, the daughter, they definitely humanized her. You got to see, a possible future for him, and one that works because, like I said in our Top Gun review, Carey McGillis and his character, you knew they were never going to work out long term.
Wait, Carey McGillis?
What's her name?
Kelly McGillis.
Kelly. We just don't know names. Carrie, yeah. Kelly, Kenny. Kelly McGillis, their relationship was never going to work out just because of their jobs, her giving up work to be with him, just how he was as a person. Like, you just knew that it wasn't going to work out. But this, you feel like, okay, this can work out for him.
Yeah, I saw that as well. And it kind of feel good moment. Like, I don't know, you just leave this movie as just a lot of positive vibes with the cast. Like, everybody moves forward in a positive direction. You have his character moving forward with a family, reconciling with Rooster moving forward with his career and his father's death and his forgiveness for Mav, Glenn Powell learning to, be a better wingman, just that camaraderie between all the Top Gun pilots. Like, not everybody had a subplot, but you can just see that they're just going to continue like moving with something to hold on to once they leave.
So I have a question. How come some of the pilots had like the Bob in the back and some of them don't?
Because some had the weapon guidance system that needed to be worked. So because you had Bob and Fanboy as the weapons technicians, and remember they were controlling the laser.
Okay, but so, why wouldn't so they don't need that for every plane though?
No, because the plane up front with the one-seater is working off of the laser from their wingman anyway. Okay. So they don't need a second person in there to work that.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That was
I was kind of wondering the same thing.
Yeah, because I knew he was working the weapon system, but I didn't really know how all that really worked together. So that's interesting to know.
We said a lot of positive things about this movie. Do you feel that this movie was actually needed, or wanted, at least welcomed, or pointless?
No, I don't think it was as needed at all. I certainly didn't want it, having not seen the original until about a week ago. But I saw some people question, is this too late to be having a sequel? This is a little ridiculous. And I know when I first saw it, I was like, oh great, another remake or another legacy sequel. It was one that kind of seemed to come out of nowhere, and it was like, why are we just doing this for literally everything now? This can't be good. So no, I mean, it wasn't welcomed. I didn't think it was needed. And then I watched it and I was like, okay, yeah. Yeah, we did need this. Like you said, it did what the first one wanted to do. And I think it was far better than the first one, but exceptionally better than the first one. So did I think it was needed when it was announced? No, but I'm glad it still came out anyways, no matter what I thought.
Actually, I completely agree with you word from word, so no need to even to beat the dead horse on it. It's yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of proved that, hey, you want to make a legacy sequel to everything, go for it. Just make it good, because I didn't care for Top Gun. I didn't need this, but if you can make it work, I'm down for it. It's not like, we may be considered prudes, snobs, but we still want to see movies do well. I still want to watch a good movie. I wish every movie could be great. Granted, I probably would never have a life if that was the case, but man, I don't want a movie to fail. I mean, there's one movie that I wanted to fail, but that's a whole thing. But most of the time, I'm like, man, I hope the movie is great. I would love to go out and see a great movie. Now I'm a little worried. Is this going to encourage studios to start digging through their catalogs? Especially with all the streaming services we have and all of them kind of trying to pull things out to bring people to them. We'll see, but at least, hey, we got content. We got content, Caitlyn.
Yeah, I mean, it is really refreshing to have this film that, it did really well. Because a lot of these legacy films, I mean, like I said, they rely too much on fan service. They fall into tropes that just don't work. They feel like cash cows. So, it's proof, and I think it makes me feel good about having these bonus objectives. Having a legacy sequel that just absolutely works.
Yeah, hopefully we can continue this trend, because it hasn't been so great. As far as like our direct sequels, our loose sequels, fantastic. Worst Person in the World, loved it. But all of our others, man, Matrix, whew. Scream 5 was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we had fun. Not a great movie. We had fun though. The Batman, mixed feelings, but I'm not going to sit here and say it was like fantastic. But what would you, other than comparing it to our other legacy sequels, requels, remakes, prequels, what letter grade would you give this movie?
It's definitely one I'm going to have to revisit down the road, and I don't think that this is going to go in like my top film ever status. But, this is a solid film, and I just have to go by what I felt watching this, and I'm going to give it an A.
Yeah, I'm right there almost with you. I was kind of thinking of a B+, but man, there's just so much to respect for this film that I have to get boosted up to an A-. I think it just had a couple shortcomings, and I think, it's still, I mean, it hits its potential, but it's still, like, it's not that amazing film. It is an amazing film, but, it just kind of has a little bit of minor tweaking. I just don't feel real confident giving it that A. Though I would like to say, I think now is a good time to kind of talk about our scale. I don't know if our letter scales are the same, the way you and I do them. Because letter scales, like when you think about letter grades, they kind of translate to percentage. So a is a 95%, an A- is between that and a 90%, 90% and 94%, or 90 and 93%. And that can then be translated to a 10 out of 10 scale, which would go into like a 9 out of 10, which if you're looking at stars is like 4.5 stars out of 5. I would say is the letter grade is its kind of own letter grade, because when it comes to IMDb, I wouldn't give this like an 8. I wouldn't give this a high 8. I'll probably give this like a solid 8 or a high 7, which would like percentage wise go out to a high C or a low B. But for me, that's a B+ or A- grade on IMDb. And the reason I bring this up is because this is actually now number 44 on the top 250 list of IMDb, putting it in between movies such as Grave of the Fireflies and Aliens and Rear Window. I don't think this film is that. I don't think this film is this now movie in like history. Maybe time will tell. Maybe I'll have a different idea later on. But I think when like compared to all those movies, I don't think it deserves that place. I don't know if you feel differently on that.
I don't think this film did anything particularly new.
Exactly, yeah. Other than the practical effects with the jets and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that has a lot to be praised. But I do think it does get credit for being a good legacy film. I mean, like I said, I feel like recently it's been a little bit of slim pickings. So, I mean, I think that this is something that people are going to point to and say, this is how you do it. So I do think it gets some merit there. Like I said, my letter grade was solely just on how I felt about the film. Not necessarily like, do I think this is, technically precise? Like, do I feel like this is groundbreaking? No. I mean, and that's also why I'm not giving it an A+ or an S tier or anything like that. But, my excitement, I mean, I just got to go by my excitement. I was excited when I was watching it. I was on the edge of my seat. It was fun. So that's what my letter grade's about. And I do tend to be a bit of a tough grader. See, for me, I think, like, if you were to do it like a 1 to 5 scale, a C would be like a 3.5 average.
Yeah. Okay. Which will come out to 70%, but that's a C-, 3.5.
Okay. I don't know. You kind of lost me with your numbers.
Right? Because it gets kind of confusing.
I was having a hard time keeping up.
I don't know, like every time I have to grade a movie, it kind of gets graded to a curved scale, or like it has different, like I'm not comparing, what I hold this movie up to is not the same thing that I hold Godfather up to. I'm not comparing it in the same
Yes.
grading materials or grading parameters. I'm not holding it to the same standard.
Agreed.
There's so many different things that come into play. Time, genre, what the film was actually going for, what their potential was. I would say for this film, I wouldn't put it up there like the top 250 films, but I would say that this is probably within like, I'm going to say off the top of my head, one of the top 25 blockbusters of all time.
Oh, yeah.
I would say
definitely.
this is a great blockbuster. It's
Great
probably
blockbuster.
the top 10 or 5 legacy films that we have. So, yeah, it's just, I don't know, IMDb is starting to become kind of interesting in the top 250. I think more people this day and age are doing reviews on film. And the way they're reviewing, I feel like is very hot and cold. Like a lot of people are giving it those full 10s. That's kind of fluctuating it in a way. Because No Way Home is number 19. Like Spider-Man No Way Home should not be number 19. You can't tell me that like the top 20 movies of all time, you're telling me most people are going to say Spider-Man No Way Home? Really? So it's interesting now like how IMDb's shifting. But if anybody was ever curious like how we grade, I mean it's not there's not really a standard. It's not concrete. At least for me it's not too concrete. I think you have to listen to more of our words and what we're talking about. I think like even when I listen to reviewers, I listen to more what they say, and sometimes I'll blank out on what their final rating was. Because I was like, okay, I see what they're saying. Because I think both you and I, we enjoyed this film exactly the same. Like, I still really enjoyed this film. But of course, I took some technicalities.
Yeah, I mean, I was close to giving this an A-. See, for me, like a C+ is a good film. A C+, there are still things I enjoy. I might have more nitpicks and more things that I dislike more than others, but a C+ still isn't going to be an awful grade for me, typically. I mean, B's are really good. B's are really good. Like I said, this one got an A just because of how I felt while watching it, and it wasn't really anything past that, so... But yeah, it's a different scale. Once you start making like comparisons to other things that you graded the same, then you're like, oh gosh, when you start questioning and everything you did, like, oh no, this isn't right. So I try not to make too many comparisons like that. Just kind of go with my gut.
So this isn't going to be too hard. Where do you rank this film to Top Gun? I gotta ask.
How high up in the sky were they? Like, what was their altitude?
I don't even remember.
Oh, but if Top Gun's below sea level, Top Gun Maverick is wherever altitude they were in the sky.
Yeah, like Maverick's hitting the atmosphere while Top Gun is in the hard deck. But do you want more? You really enjoy this film. Do you want more?
No. I feel like Maverick's story is done. So I definitely wouldn't want more from Maverick, but I feel like this thing was a good movie, and I think to do anything more I think would be a disservice to this film, because I honestly don't know what more you could do.
Right, even looking with the original Top Gun, there's stuff to play off of, and we talked about how a lot of the stories fell short, like there were a lot of loose ends. Here, everything's tied up pretty well, and I mean, you could bring some of the characters back, but it's like, what characters do you bring back? Which do you leave? And then at that point, is this just going to turn into another rise and fall war film? So I agree. I would say no. I don't need any more. Now I do need more like of this film in IMAX, which I plan to see very soon. That's about it.
I wish the IMAX here wasn't so bad.
Your IMAX theater is bad. Mine is great.
It's very bad.
I can't wait to hear the sounds and the 23% more scene.
It's just the seating, like, because I guess the IMAX was like the newest theater before they switched to reclining seats. So they're like, we're not gonna do this. The Dolby theater is really nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure the sound in Dolby will be real nice.
That one's real nice at the AMC, but their IMAX they need to upgrade.
Yeah, there still feels like I went there to see Hobbs and Shaw the last time. That was the last movie I saw in Maryland at the AMC.
Yeah, it's not going to be any updated since then.
Yeah, no, it feels exactly the same. I was like, I feel like this is when I was a little kid and I went to the science museum and they had one of these giant screens. I was like, yeah, they haven't upgraded this at all.
Yeah. Sounds good, but they just need to upgrade their theater. And the rest of the theaters are upgraded, this part. Even though half the recliners, I feel like, are broken now already.
God dang.
I don't know what I did before recliners. I have no idea. Maybe that's probably why, like, I have tendonitis in my knee. They call it, like, jumper's knee. But you actually, it hurts worse when you sit down, like, upright. And, like, your legs are just, like if you're normally sitting at a desk. So, like, those old movie theater seats, like, if I was there for, like, a couple hours, like, my knee would be killing me after watching those movies. So those recliners are, amazing for me.
Well, I'm glad, this turned out to be a much better movie and a much better episode than I had predicted. So I'm glad we hopped on this.
Yeah, same. Like I said, this movie was such a pleasant surprise.
Is there anything else you want to say to our loving audience before we depart?
No, I don't think so. If you haven't seen, for some reason you're still listening to our spoiler section, grab your grandma and go watch this film.
Yeah, your grandmother,
some language. There's some bad language you're sensitive to that, but my grandma was okay with it, I guess.
All right. Well, if they do want to get in contact and let us know how their date went with their grandmother, where can they find us, Caitlyn?
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. On Facebook, we're Operation Silver Screen, but on Instagram and Twitter, we're Op Silver Screen. Once again, Facebook, that's Operation Silver Screen, and Twitter and Instagram, that's Op Silver Screen. You can also find us on our personal letterboxes. Brian's going to be at Swing Seal, that's capital S, and I'm going to be at Coffee Spoon Kate, that's Coffee Spoon CAIT.
Well, till the next assignment, we'll be in HQ. I'm Bryant.
And I'm Caitlyn.
See you.